Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 13 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out a very fun team featuring Mew as well as Genesect. This was sent in to me by a player called André. André actually got top 8 at the 2022 Trading Card Game World Championships, and part of the reason why this team has Mew and Genesect is because both of those Pokemon are really good in the trading card game historically, and so yeah, it is really fun to be able to try them out here on Road to Ranked for VGC. André also dabbles a little bit in VGC, but I mean, getting top 8 at TCG Worlds is an absolutely bonkers accomplishment, so I've linked his Twitter down in the description below. Huge thank you to him for sending in the team. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown, but if you want to just get to the battles, check out the timestamps in the description below, and if you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like in the video. I really appreciate it. So before we even dive into the team, I would say one of the advantages of using Pokemon like Genesect and Mew is that your opponents often just have no idea what these Pokemon even do in the first place because they're so uncommon. I think objectively these Pokemon are a little bit weaker than most of the other restricteds in the format because their stats just aren't amazing. And I think this is a format that really values heavy-paced offense, and neither Genesect nor Mew really deal like a ton of damage here, right? But your opponents often aren't really going to know what to expect when they see these Pokemon. Now, given that I'm making a video about this team specifically, if they see Genesect and Mew on this team, and they've seen this team before, then it ruins kind of that element of surprise. But it's speaking to a broader point, which is in Pokemon, like when you use more obscure Pokemon, you can get an advantage just because your opponents like can't really calculate plays as easily. So just one point to make there. The Mew here is a Choice Scarf set, which is really interesting, and it's Bulldoze, Transform, Trick, and Volt Switch. So one of the main combos you have with this team is Mew plus Yveltal. You can self-Volt Switch to activate Weakness Policy on Yveltal. Do know that the Yveltal here is not like max speed. André, the original creator, actually said he was looking to refine the EV spread and give a little bit more speed so that you can always outspeed Zacian at +1, and you can angle to like outspeed Calyrex at +1 as well, which I think is a pretty good benchmark. But the idea here is that Yveltal can or Mew can self-Volt Switch to activate Weakness Policy on Yveltal, and then like Mew Yveltal lead, often your opponents just don't even know like what to do against that. You've got an Assault Vest Kyogre here. This is relatively standard. We've used this plenty of times before. It's just a very consistent attacker, both inside and outside of Dynamax. You've got Focus Sash, Calyrex Shadow Rider. It's not Choice Scarf. And it's Astral Barrage, Imprison, Trick Room, and Protect. And so it's pretty classic Calyrex, but the idea here is instead of attacks like Snarl and Will-O-Wisp, you can really, stop opposing Trick Room setups with this team, because Trick Room is not exactly the easiest matchup, especially when you've got something like a Choice Scarf Mew on the team, right? And finally, you've got Supportive Thundurus here with Citrus Berry. There's Protect in the pace, but I believe it's actually Taunt on the in-game version, which can help against certain Pokemon. And so this is a very classic bulky Thundurus here. And finally, you've got Genesect. And with the Drive, the Technoblast turns into a Water-type attack. And so part of the advantage is that like Kyogre and Genesect here can be really valuable into opposing Groudon teams. So a lot of different ways that you can play with it. I'd say overall, Mew and Genesect, like, they're not going to be the carries with this team, right? Like, in my experience, just practicing a little bit with the team, like, Kyogre and Yveltal are by far the most common Dynamax options. I've had a couple games where I'm thinking about maxing Genesect, but it being kind of slow and not exactly very bulky always makes me a little bit more hesitant. But if you get a good download boost and you're in a position to just snowball, that's one thing to certainly consider. So, like, Mew and Yveltal is definitely one you can go with, but you do have to be careful since the Yveltal is, first of all, physical here, and second of all, it doesn't have great coverage. So if you're fighting against something like a Zacian, right, like you might just faint to Zacian. So one way you could get around that if you wanted to adjust the team is like make it special Yveltal and have like Heat Wave on it, because then you can go for like self-Volt Switch, have a +2 max flare into Zacian. But this is a physical variant, which of course can deal unexpected amounts of damage into things like Kyogre, for example. So Mew Yveltal with like a combination of Kyogre, Genesect, and Calyrex in the back is acceptable. André mentioned like he likes often going with Thundurus and Calyrex because they expect the Thundurus to Dynamax, right? And so they'll hyper focus on Thundurus, but instead you've got the support set. A single Aerial Pulse can greatly shut down opposing special attackers and give you a quick snowball. Calyrex can even Trick Room here, and then you can self-scary face your Calyrex under Trick Room, which is kind of fun, and then have like a combination of Kyogre, Genesect, and Yveltal in the back. So yeah, overall, I'd say both the Mew and Genesect here, they're not exactly super intuitive to play with. I think Mew here is also interesting. You've got Bulldoze for speed control, so you can lead like Mew Yveltal with Bulldoze rather than self-Volt Switch to try to give Yveltal an immediate speed advantage. Transform can be really valuable, especially if you copy something like a Zacian in the late game, and Trick can be valuable into things that don't really want Choice Scarf and really value their item. So yeah, the thing about this Mew is that it's really fully supportive unless you get the Transform off, so you have to be very careful about how you play with it. But overall, I think it's just so cool to try out a team with Mew and Genesect, so let's get into things. For this one, we've got Yveltal, Thundurus, Zacian, Kyogre, Groudon, Whimsicott, very similar to the rank number 1 team that we just featured. So part of the problem with Thundurus here is that I can't do anything into their Evoltol other than Thunderbolt. It's not a good matchup for Calyrex thanks to Evoltol. Something I'm worried about is just Whimsicott plus Evoltol on their end. Yeah, Whimsicott Evoltol is fairly concerning. I don't think we have the best Evoltol matchup here, truthfully. I can at least Thunderbolt it with Thundurus. Can I do anything fun with Mew? Part of me is kind of down to just try Mew plus Evoltol here. Kyogre Genesect in the back. I think inherently the problem here is that their Evoltol is super strong. I don't have a clear way to beat it. Calyrex doesn't do anything into it. Genesect is fairly weak into it. My Evoltol and Kyogre both aren't that amazing into it, although Kyogre lead may have been okay here. So we'll see. Okay, that is going to be Thundurus and Groudon. Okay. I'll take that. Honestly, like, what I want to do here is just Volt Switch, activate Policy on Evoltol, and then get going with Evoltol. I guess the thing is, it could be Defiant Thundurus. That's one thing to think about. Yeah, like, I want to Volt Switch, activate Policy, Dynamax. And I think I want an Airstream to try to outspeed what they might have in the back. Plus, like, Groudon maybe doesn't Dynamax here and I could get a one-hit KO onto it. Okay, no Thundurus Max. Groudon Max here would be totally okay with me if they don't end up doubling up onto Evoltol for a KO, I think. But so Evoltol's gonna max. Yeah, they're gonna max Groudon. That's okay with me, I think. I wonder if +2 Airstream and a +2 Darkness is a KO. But it should be supportive Thundurus, which means then I can pivot Mew out, go into Kyogre. And Kyogre's looking okay into this. I'll take it, because I thought, like, I don't know, Whimsicott Evoltol lead was really scary from their end. Okay, they go for Thunder Wave, that's fine. Like, actually curious how fast Groudon is and whether or not it's faster even with that. The problem here is I don't get Weakness Policy off before the Airstream, sadly. But, yeah. It's kind of close as to whether or not... Yeah, if I got the Policy off, I actually think Airstream plus Darkness would have been enough. But Mew should outspeed now. That para sucks. Okay, but they're actually going to Rockfall, which will activate Weakness Policy for me. So, I'll take it. Yeah, because it's not even a 2-hit KO onto me. It just mainly stings because if Mew gets the Volt Switch off there, I get a free switch in into whatever I want, and that's obviously really ideal, but in the end, I think this outcome is actually not that bad, so could be a lot worse. Because the thing is, now I got a speed boost, right? So, like, I'm interested in the idea of... Like, I think I want to max Darkness to just KO Thundurus here. We'll survive a max Rockfall. The question is also how fast their Zacian is, because I don't guarantee outspeed Zacian if they're max speed, right? Kind of down to transform here. Okay. Transform and max Darkness. Oh, Thundurus actually has Protect. Huh. So it's Protect, Thunder Wave. That makes sense. Protect, Thunder Wave. Could be Eerie Impulse. Scary Face. Taunt. White Herb Groudon. Okay. He gets paralyzed again, unfortunately. Okay, they're gonna Max Quake into that slot. Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't want to be Volt Switching to Kyogre and just like eating up a ton of damage with Kyogre. So, I mean, these pairs have been incredibly frustrating, but that's okay. It's just part of the game. Like, knowing you're not Assault Vest is actually a pretty big deal as well in itself, I would argue. 19 down to 8. Okay. You have Citrus on Thundurus. Yep. Trick doesn't really do anything for me. I could Volt Switch, but then I'm forced to bring something out. I don't really want to bring either of these two Pokemon out right now. The interesting thing in Volt Switching is like getting in Kyogre and giving it a speed boost via Max Airstream, which I actually don't hate. So like Volt Switch into Thundurus, get Kyogre out, and Airstream, because I actually think getting a speed advantage like that is fairly strong for me here. This is one of those games where it's like everything like could go wrong is going wrong. Like we get Para 2 turns in a row. They get a double protect off as well. Kudos to them for finding the double protect play though, right? Like that's absolutely the right thing for them to do. But incredibly frustrating. Okay. Also, I sequenced that incorrectly anyway because Airstream would have gone off before bringing Kyogre out. So I should have just hard switched into Kyogre there if I wanted to guarantee the speed boost. But I would say for how strong like the lead looked, it's been very frustrating. Especially given that they just activated my weakness policy on turn 1. And part of it was just never being able to get the like pivot into Kyogre. I didn't want to just like carelessly switch into it though, which was part of the problem. Alright, so I'll bring out Kyogre now. I definitely could have played this game a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, a lot of support Thunduruses don't even run Protect, and my opponent wasted 2 turns of my attacks as I try to get rid of that slot. But that last turn was suboptimal. Like, if I were trying to give Kyogre a speed boost, I need to just hard switch there anyway. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm at +2 speed here. Like, I'm down to just click Origin Pulse in this position. And Protect, I think. Yeah. They could go for T-Wave or Eerie Impulse onto Kyogre. Right now, like, do you assume you have the faster Groudon? Probably not, so I would expect Speed Control to go into the Kyogre slot. The thing is, with Yveltal, I can't KO the Groudon anyway, I don't think, at +2. So, yeah, Scary Face is fine. Yeah, you can Scary Face Precipice Blades, but Origin Pulse might still just pick up a double KO. And actually, Heavy Slam into Yveltal, even better. Okay, at least we hit the Groudon. Could be worse. In fact, a miss like that could actually be beneficial, mainly because now my opponent doesn't get 2 free switch-ins. Exhaustion coming in would make sense. Oh, it's actually Whimsicott. Huh. Oh, that is very interesting. Because, like, right now my opponent's board is actually fairly defensive. You can Tailwind, but Yveltal's still going to be faster than your Thundurus. Problem is that my only flying type attack is Sky Attack here. I'm going for a Lash Out. If we had dual Wing Beat here, I actually think we'd be in such good shape. But actually, it might still be okay because they just Eerie Impulse into Kyogre, which I'm okay with here. So we get Lash Out with Yveltal. That's a sick animation on Yveltal, by the way. Cool, that's a ton of damage. They Energy Ball into Yveltal. Does that even KO? Okay. Get Water Spout off, but I'm using a -2 Kyogre at this point. And their Thundurus hangs on with 1 HP! Oh, man. Man. I mean, if we get the KO there, I think we're in great shape. The problem is Thundurus now gets another Eerie Impulse off. Their last one's Kyogre, though, so maybe it's still doable. What boost do we get from Genesect here? It's an attack boost. That's not ideal. What do I want to do here? How many turns of rain are left? 3. Yeah, it's looking slim. I want to just Water Spout and Protect here, but I think their Thundurus protecting would also make some sense. Oh, man. You know what? Like, this game I don't feel too bad about. There's so much that went wrong, and it's still such a close battle, right? Like, okay. Looks like Thundurus isn't protecting, which is big. Yeah, they just tried to Thunder Wave me. Okay, so that's good. The thing is, I'm not really confident on winning this Kyogre versus Kyogre duel, right? And, like, yeah, I get a Bug Buzz off, but that doesn't really do much. And I think, like, Kyogre's faster than me here, as you can see, which is also a problem. So I'm probably hoping for an Origin Pulse miss. I will say that Origin Pulse from there and actually did a ton of damage. Like, could they be choiced? Okay. Now we're down to Genesect. So I'm down to Thunder into Kyogre and Bug Buzz into it. See how much this does. I mean, that's not bad damage. I think it's most likely Mystic Water Kyogre, explaining like the amount of damage it does. But then the thing is, Thunder should be a 2-hit KO onto their Kyogre. Para would be absolutely huge here. If they missed Origin onto either there, we would also have been in really good shape. Yeah, Thunder's a 2-hit KO. Do we get a Para? Oh, that makes up for everything. We could still lose, though, because they could stall out the rain, and then I could miss Thunder, right? Yep. What a game either way, though. What a game. Oh, they're still faster. You're Scarfed? Wait, what? Did I ever eat up a speed drop? Did they get a speed boost onto their Kyogre at any point? Not that I remember, right? Okay. I guess that works. But here I was wondering the item on the Kyogre. That was a crazy game. I needed like a break after that. That's why you don't give up, though. So much did not go our way in that early game, right? Like, once again, it was... and it was funny, the pair actually didn't even end up mattering. But yeah, it was what didn't go our way. Thundurus, Double Protect, Mew getting Para 2 times in a row, not getting the switch into Kyogre. I misplayed that turn where I could have switched Mew into Kyogre immediately. But Genesect, you know, being in the end game, like, just having a single Bug Buzz on a Kyogre there was fairly valuable. Although, like, Calyrex was probably better than Genesect overall. But I think Genesect is an okay Pokemon to bring because it's actually really valuable into my opponent's Groudon in that position. I did double check there because I was super confused, but we did get hit by a scary face there earlier on in the battle, but it was so many turns in advance. So I should have double checked the stats at the end game as always before the final turn. But yeah, the main thing I was wondering then is like I said, I'm fairly sure it was Mystic Water on the Kyogre, so I'm curious if they didn't have Thunder, because if so, they could have just outsped me and KO'd me with Thunder potentially in that position. So yeah, either way though, that was a really, really intense game. Ooh, that's a Zarude? A Keldeo, Groudon, Kyurem White, Kyogre, and Thundurus. I honestly have not fought against Zarude literally at all, so this should be an interesting experience. I'm just quickly looking up what it does, because I've literally never seen this Pokemon before. So I'm playing off, yeah, mainly intuition here and just some quick research. So it is faster than Genesect, but could actually be an interesting game to bring the Genesect out into. Like, I'm kind of down. Right, part of the reason I wanted to feature this team is because it has so many unique components to it. Keldeo is also interesting. So what do I want to bring here? I'll probably drop Calyrex. I want Genesect. I want Mew. Yveltal, Kyogre. Just quad restricted could work. The thing is, I think my Thundurus also can be fairly decent here, because I can use it for like Eerie Impulse onto some of the restricteds. So instead of Mew, I could bring Thundurus, Yveltal. I don't hate that. Because I think Kyurem White's actually what I'm kind of scared of for my opponent's end. Yeah, so I'm going to go Thundurus, Yveltal here. Mew is just more fun though, honestly. We'll go with Mew. Mew, Yveltal, Kyogre, Genesect. I think Thundurus is objectively the safer pick here, thanks to Priority Eerie Impulse from it, but I just want to be able to bring both Mew and Genesect into a game, and I think we can pull it off here. So Mew's really interesting with this team. It's got Bulldoze, Transform, Trick, and Volt Switch, right? So one play I could make is just self-Volt Switch and a Weakness Policy Yveltal, Dynamax Yveltal, and go from there. I'd have to worry about potential Kyurem White lead with that combination, and they are going to go with Thundurus and Kyurem. Okay. Turn one's already pretty interesting. Now, I am Weakness Policy here on the Thundurus. Kyurem is faster than us. Okay. They might just max Hailstorm that slot. We have a free switch it into Kyogre. I mean, we are Weakness Policy here. So, like, I'm not completely opposed to just going for Max Darkness here onto Kyurem. Hoping they activate Weakness Policy for us. Transform is honestly kind of cool here. I'm going to go for Transform. I think Mew is just such an interesting Pokemon that I've really not ever used before. So I'm intrigued in just exploring it a little bit. We're Dynamaxing first, which is interesting here. So maybe it's a Kyurem Protect. To which then we'd actually transform into their Kyurem, which is kind of funny. I don't think I made the most optimal play here, and I think Thundurus lead over Mew here actually would have worked out better for me because I would have been able to pressure with Thunder Wave or sorry, Eerie Impulse or Scary Face onto the Kyurem immediately. But okay, they actually go for Taunt onto Mew. That's a great play. So it does stop me from transforming, but their lack of Dynamax means they're just going to activate Weakness Policy for me, which is pretty sweet. And I'll just be able to get the KO onto Kyurem. Also indicates support to Thundurus, right? So I'm kind of surprised to not see a Dynamax there on the Thundurus. I'll gladly take it. If I went for Bulldoze there, I wonder if Bulldoze and Max Darkness would have actually just KO'd Kyurem. But I'm happy for them to have activated my Weakness Policy here, so I can't complain. Anyway, it puts Mew in a pretty interesting position, but I think now I can look towards Max Guarding Yveltal. Once again, Genesect is actually fairly interesting in this matchup, especially if they brought the Zarude. Kyogre comes out. Okay. Now I'm curious how fast their Kyogre is relative to Yveltal, especially because we're physical Yveltal. Max Darkness will kind of just crush them here. Mew is choice locked, so I'm okay to just Max Guard here and switch into my own Kyogre in this position, I think. Yeah, that's fine. Mew can always do some interesting things with Trick in the late game for us as well. So I'd like to conserve it right now. Nice taunt. Wasn't fully sure what to expect from the Thundurus there. I was thinking maybe like Speed Control onto Mew, Dynamax Kyurem, and then they Hailstorm either slot. So I think the lack of a Hailstorm here is really positive to see. So we'll gladly take that. Kyogre here does not go for a Max. Thundurus just Scary Faces. Okay. Interesting that they chose to like completely ignore the Yveltal slot. Given that, I mean, are you Scarfed? Kind of an odd play to Scary Face, if so. I'm down to just go for the physical Max Darkness here and Origin Pulse. Like, the thing is, they still haven't committed a Dynamax yet, right? And they still don't go for it, okay? I mean, if Water Spell does not KO the Yveltal here, I might just pick up a double KO, and we would just win off that. Okay, they are faster. They get Water Spout off. Yeah, that doesn't KO. I think my opponent maybe got a little bit greedy holding their Dynamax for as long as they did, because now Max Darkness just gets the one-hit KO. I get a special defense drop onto the Thundurus, so Origin Pulse should probably get the KO as well. I went for Origin Pulse there just because covers for, like, switches. Also, like, if Kyogre somehow magically survives, I guarantee the KO onto it. Thundurus impressively actually does hang on from that, though. Okay. So the game's not over yet. No Berry onto Thundurus. What's the final Pokemon? It's actually just Groudon. Okay. So with Groudon coming in right now, what do I want to do? I honestly want to switch Kyogre out. We've got Sucker Punch here, which is also fairly handy with the Yveltal. So, like, I think here I'm down to go for Sucker Punch onto Thundurus. Switch the Kyogre out and bring in Mew. And I want to use Kyogre and Genesect to end this game, right? Because I'll have good weather control with that. But I think this game I probably got away with more than I should have. And ultimately, yeah, leading Thundurus probably would have been better than leading Mew. Although they did have Taunt on their Thundurus. And so because they had Taunt, it actually might not... Like, my Thundurus might have just been rendered relatively useless if they just taunt me on turn 1. At least with Mew, it's like a guessing game on, you know, what is the Mew actually going to try to accomplish here. So we'll see what Thundurus opts for here. I would think maybe they just try to Thunderbolt the Yveltal for a KO. I'm fine bringing in Mew right now. We can use it to maybe transform into Groudon, which I think would be kind of cool. Transform into Groudon, bring in Kyogre. I guess the other question here is how fast their Groudon is, because this is Assault Vest Kyogre. But that's where, actually with Mew, I can use Bulldoze to ensure that I outspeed with Kyogre. So instead of transforming, I actually might want to Bulldoze instead. Like, what I can do is bring in Genesect, protect Genesect, Bulldoze, then switch Mew out into Kyogre. Alright, Thundurus here is not going to go for an attacking move. They actually offer Eerie Impulse onto the Mew slot. Okay, that's fine. We know that can taunt us, so I have to be careful about that. And a Max Steel Spike comes out onto the Yveltal slot. That's fine. Obviously, I could have gone up 4-1 here, but just wanted to cover for faster Thundurus, potentially just clicking Thunderbolt. Getting hit by an Eerie Impulse on Mew doesn't really do much, so I'm okay with that. Does make things a little bit trickier because they do have Scary Face. So I think what I want to do is bring in Genesect. I'm going to get a download boost here. Special attack, cool. And what I want to do is protect with Genesect and then Volt Switch into Thundurus to get Kyogre in safely. Now what they could do here is maybe like Scary Face plus Max Quake into the Mew slot, which would be fairly interesting. Yveltal, like if Yveltal just KO'd Thundurus last turn, this game would definitely be over, but I think Thundurus causes a little bit more variance here. Groudon also could have Max Flare and Max Flare meet through Protect, which scares me a little bit. But if I get Kyogre in, then the rain is up and it's not nearly as scary. Okay, they do go for Scary Face on Mew. I'm now mainly curious which Choice Scarf here do we outspeed Groudon, even with the Scary Face. And the answer is yes. Okay, so Mew gets the Volt Switch off into Thundurus, and that gets a KO. Nice. Perfect. That puts us in a really nice spot, where now I get the Kyogre in safely. But I think this game, like, I definitely did not play perfectly. Part of it is just trying out Mew plus Genesect, right? But, like, Thundurus would have maybe been a better pick over Mew in this one. They also had Taunt on Thundurus. And I can see why they held their Dynamax for Groudon in the end, because Dynamax Groudon is actually really strong against what we have here. Okay, it's going to be a Max Quake. Let's see, into the Kyogre slot. Nicely done. Okay, so they actually will get the knockout onto us, but that's okay. I think the thing is, I can bring Mew back out. Now I can use Transform to copy their Groudon. Oh, but you know what's awkward? Huh. If I transform into their Groudon, I change the weather, don't I? Yeah. And I really don't want to change the weather here. So I'm down to Technoblast. I could use Trick here onto the Groudon. I don't think I want to do that. Yeah, I'm down to transform into my own Genesect here. I don't want to change the weather in this position. This is not how I expected the game to go, but now I have 2 Genesects out on the field. And I'm going to get a download boost as well. We get Technoblast. It's decent damage. We'll see if they change the weather here with the Max Flare. Nope, they go for Quake. Let's see if that KOs Genesect. Oh, they go into the Mew slot. Okay, that makes things even easier, because now Technoblast should just be a KO. But this game was really scary, honestly. And I think if that Quake went into the Genesect slot, and it gets the KO, I actually probably lose the game. And the Genesect here isn't really bulky, so I think we probably got away with more than we should have in this game. But yeah, now I've got a +2 special attack Mew copied. So we can just go for Bug Buzz here. I just really want to see the Technoblast animation. Okay, Genesect going for the Bug Buzz here onto the Groudon. And here is Technoblast coming out from Genesect. That's going to be Water boosted in the rain, and that's going to be a KO. So, yeah. that was a really fun game. I would say I definitely did not play perfectly by any means. I didn't bring the best Pokemon. I really wanted to try out the Mew and the Genesect. But I think my opponent made some really good plays as well, right? Like, for example, the way they played with Thundurus was very impressive. They shut down my early, potential transform shenanigans with Mew. They also were able to, read into the Genesect protecting that turn, as well as Sucker Punch, right? That endgame, it felt like I really should have won comfortably, but my opponent made all the right plays. They didn't attack with the Thundurus there, right? If my Yveltal just goes for an attack to KO Thundurus there immediately, I should have a pretty sizable lead, because then it's 3v1. They also read into Genesect Protect and then correctly doubled up onto the Mew slot as well, thus getting the KO onto the Kyogre. And so, yeah, Mew's a really interesting Pokemon. Right, it felt like in this game, it didn't really do too much for us in the sense that it didn't enable the Yveltal, but, it opens a whole different line of play that you normally don't get from a lot of Pokemon in this format. So I'm just happy to have brought Mew and Genesect out and won the game with it, but I think that game could have been, a lot scarier. If, for example, Quake went into Genesect there in the end game, there was a lot that I could have just, lost the game immediately with, so we're fairly lucky to come out with the win here, but yeah, let's keep things going. Ooh, Diancie, Palkia, Magearna, Incineroar, Amoonguss, Calyrex, Ice. I haven't seen Diancie at all. That's really cool. It's a very Trick Room-oriented team, so I think imprising Calyrex is crucial here. I really want to max Genesect in this one. Calyrex... What does Calyrex not want to face? I mean, Calyrex in itself is just so good into my opponent's team immediately. I think I'm down for a Calyrex Kyogre lead with Genesect and Mew in the back. Let's do that. Got Thundurus and Yveltal back there. Yeah. I think I could probably drop Thundurus for... Or sorry, I could probably drop Mew for Yveltal here. I'm honestly just, so excited to try out a team with Mew and Genesect. As you can see, I'm trying to bring it out as much as I can. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad pick. I think Transform in the late game is really interesting to me. But they're going to go with Palkia and Amoonguss, which is fine by me. To me, this is probably a Imprison plus Max Lightning into Palkia turn 1, I think. Now, my opponent can get around this if they actually just end up going for... that's a play that covers for almost everything, but one thing it doesn't cover for is Palkia just attacking and Amoonguss just attacking, double up into Calyrex. But I really don't want Trick Room to go up here. And if they make that play, that's a very, very impressive play. Kudos to them. I'm okay losing to a player making such a good play like that. And they're maxing, so they're already off to a good start. Well done. Maxing is okay here, though. It means you don't get Trick Room up. And I'm okay with that. But the Palkia is faster than Kyogre, which is good to know. Yeah, just seeing Amoonguss lead here means I kind of wanted to go for this. The problem now is that if it indeed is a double up into the Calyrex slot, I'm going to be in a fair amount of trouble going into turn 2 of the game. So the question is, did Amoonguss actually commit an attacking move into the Calyrex slot? But the problem is I can't cover for them doing this play, them going for Protect Trick Room, them going for Trick Room Spore, and them going for non-Dynamax and just doubling up. Or even Protect Amoonguss attack with Palkia. Although I think that's probably the weakest of all the options. Okay, Amoonguss protecting there is good. I'm fine with that. Because it means Calyrex hangs on for 1 extra turn, and that even just 1 extra turn is such a big deal here. It does feel kind of bad, wasting it in prison, but that's fine. Ooh, Max Quake, though. Okay. Yeah, that's a great play. My main question now is, I don't actually think Max Geyser KOs me through Protect, but... we index so heavily on special damage here that a single special defense boost goes such a long way for my opponent. So yeah, maybe I need to play towards Palkia in this game. I think I went into team preview saying oh, Calyrex just looks so good here immediately, but this is actually not a very favorable position for me right now, I would argue. I could use Mew to copy them later on in the battle, though. That's interesting. Yeah, I lean towards Protect here into Hailstorm. Because if there's any chance Calyrex can survive this turn, it's a very, very big deal. Amoonguss switches out, so you get rid of the special defense drop. Or sorry, special defense boost is what I meant to say, into Incineroar. Okay. It's interesting they brought Incineroar into this matchup in itself, because I can Geyser that slot relatively safely next turn, although maybe I should have just Geysered Incineroar or Amoonguss this turn, because... it's still a fair amount of damage. They're going to Geyser into Calyrex, so let's see if this is enough for a KO through Protect. We hang on with 3 HP. That's absolutely huge. Nice. Oh, but I KO myself through hail. That's awkward. Oopsies. That was not intended. That is definitely a shame. I think being able to conserve Calyrex for an extra turn here would have been absolutely huge, because then I get a free switch in subsequent turn. I think ultimately not bringing physical damage here hurt a little bit, and them having a Palkia that's faster than my Kyogre also does not do me any favors. Now, I've got a free Max Geyser into the Incineroar slot next turn. That's pretty cool. I think I'm down to bring out Genesect here. Okay. I'm gonna get a attack boost from download. Yeah, I think here I just want to protect and Geyser into Incineroar. I think Incineroar switching out here into Amoonguss is a fairly good play. I should have thought a little bit more about whether or not I would have fainted after a Hailstorm chip. Because if I could have nailed Incineroar on the switch-in and Geysered it, it would have been very sweet. And then Calyrex would have hung on for another turn and maybe even KO Incineroar. Nice switch. Yep, Amoonguss coming in makes sense to me. Yep. I think they're playing this game very, very well. I think not falling into the trap of Imprison and not getting, not tunnel visualing on Trick Room immediately was really well done by my opponent. Quake into Genesect. That did 30 damage. Like, I can Bug Buzz next turn, sure, but to what success? My opponent did a great job mitigating my Dynamax on Kyogre. Like, I think overall they just played this game near perfectly so far, I would argue. I don't think there's a single thing differently that they could have done that would have given them a significant advantage. So, honestly, huge props to them. And part of the thing about using a team like that has Mew and Genesect means I have to work, you know, play a little bit differently and like try to find ways to surprise my opponent, and they have, yeah, just not even given me any room for that thus far. Now, I do have Transform with Mew in the back, obviously, so maybe look for an opportunity with that, but it's looking kind of tough right now because you're at +2 special defense with Palkia, so I just can't even deal much damage to it. Yeah, this is looking really tough, honestly. I think here, Amoonguss probably protects, but I'm so far behind in this game that I feel like I need a miracle or for them to make major misplays. So, for example, if Amoonguss doesn't protect here, maybe there's an opportunity. But it does, yeah. This is my opponent just, like, at this point having a pretty safe path to victory. Like, I just have nothing to deal with this Palkia, truthfully. Maybe Yveltal was my best bet. But I didn't feel very... Oh, now they're Trick Rooming. Huh, okay, that actually makes things interesting because terrain is still up. Only for one more turn, though, right? Like, the thing is, now I can go for, like, an Ice Beam Freeze, Thunder Para onto Palkia. And they could also miss with Amoonguss is the thing. I could also low-key see them switching Amoonguss out here into Incineroar. I'm not going to win the game by clicking Ice Beam into Amoonguss here. I'm going to actually click Water Spout. Yeah, I mean, like, they played in such a manner that's so defensive so far, but the thing is, like, this doesn't really even get me that far. Because I have a Mew in the back. And I still can't really deal that much damage into Palkia. So, feels good to get the prediction right. Brings me back a little bit into the game, but I'm still so far behind, truthfully. Yeah, like, I just can't damage the Palkia right now, which is really frustrating. And they Hydro them to protect. The other thing I was thinking was banking off a Hydro Pump miss and then critting Bug Buzz there, but I would need so much to go my way there. I could go for a play towards the Hydro Pump miss this turn. Oh, they actually brought Calyrex, okay. Wait, Calyrex is interesting because if you actually miss with Palkia, can I do something? I mean, here I'm down to switch it out into Mew, I think. I'm really surprised they didn't bring Amoonguss out. Like, why not just bring Amoonguss out and Spore? I mean, this actually opens up a path for me to potentially win now, I would say. I'm going to Protect and Water Spout here. Sorry, not Protect, Switch and Water Spout. The thing is, there's still 2 more turns of Trick Room to stall out, so I might need like a double Protect or something. And they miss High Horsepower. They actually targeted the Mew slot as well. Wow. Okay. I mean, this is like looking a lot more doable than it did a few turns ago, but it's still, I think it's still not in great shape, truthfully. But yeah, I'm surprised they didn't Glacial Lance there. Like, the thing is, now I actually will be able to stall out Trick Room, right? And High Horsepower wouldn't have KO'd Mew there anyway, so... Okay, let's think about this. I could Transform. I don't think it really does much. Trick Life Orb away from Palkia. Give it a Scarf. I don't hate that personally. Yeah, I'm down a Water Spout again here. I think even with high horsepower damage, we still KO Calyrex. Alright, they just Glacial Lance, yeah. I mean, look, like, this went from, hey, I think this game is literally unwinnable, to I actually think we're in a position where maybe we can win. I don't know if switching Mew out there ever was the correct play. I don't think so. I don't think Mew does anything for us in this endgame. I hope Water Spout KOs Calyrex here. Okay, it does. I mean, the thing is, Palkia is slowly going to KO itself from Life Orb damage as well. That's the other thing to consider. I think my opponent would have been better off bringing Amoonguss in first over Palkia, truthfully. Spatial Ren, 137 down to 69. 137 down to 69. So did what, 68? Ugh, that is quite the damage roll, huh? They bring Amoonguss out. Oh my gosh, this is actually so close. I think they still win because Palkia is just too strong right now. No more... No, sorry, there is one more turn of Trick Room. You just Spore Kyogre, Hydro Pump Genesect. I mean, I win off a Bug Buzz crit now on Palkia is the thing. And if they Spored... Well, yeah, I would always Spore Kyogre and Hydro Pump Genesect here, personally. Does that KO us? That's awesome. It just feels so bad. Okay, wait, I could still win off critting Palkia, though. But I was going to say, like, oh, I put in all that work, and then in the end they had Seed Bomb on Amoonguss. Nicely done. Yeah, you're at what, +2 special defense? Yeah, Bug Buzz is definitely not KOing without a crit here. But if we crit, we actually win, I think, because Genesect should win 1v1 against Amoonguss. I'm going to fall short by like 5-10% in the end, I think. Genesect's just not that strong. Yeah. They even get the special defense drop. Wait, they could miss Hydro Pump. They don't miss. That was a really fun game, though. I mean, this actually was really close, and if they didn't have Seed Bomb there on Amoonguss, I also like wasn't sure if Seed Bomb was guaranteed to KO from that range, but maybe they're, yeah, like max attack, or they have attack investment. We were that close to beating Palkia there in the end, but yeah, it had just over 10%. Honestly, though, that is not a game I feel bad losing. It was a really, really fun one, and yeah, I think the thing with Mew on this team is it takes up a restricted slot, but it's not easy to use either, right? But I think the main thing is my opponent played the early game super well, and I don't have great Palkia answers to begin with, and I essentially lost Calyrex for nothing. Yveltal would have been an interesting consideration in this game. If I could, like, even bring Mew Yveltal and, like, you know, just go Volt Switch, like, activate Policy. Well, I just dropped my controller. That could be really good for us. So, yeah. Either way, though, yeah, my opponent played that really well. We were actually so close to making a potential comeback, and I don't have any shame losing to that. Because, like I said, like, my opponent found the perfect play turn 1, and Max Quake over, like, Geysering is also such a big deal. And, yeah, they played the early game super, super well. And now that I see Seed Bomb on Amoonguss, I can see why they brought Calyrex out first. So, yeah. I do wonder if I could have maybe switched Mew into the Genesect, the turn I got hit by Glacial Lance. But to me, Genesect was a much better endgame Pokemon since Mew doesn't really provide me with any offense. So, yeah. Next game here, and we've got Regieleki, Amoonguss, Kyogre, Calyrex, Incineroar, and Magearna. Funnily enough, I feel like it's actually been a while since we fought against Magearna, which is weird to say in this format. It's a really strong team from their end. Triple restricted, Kyogre, Calyrex, Magearna. We have Trick Room Imprison on Calyrex. I think we might have to bring it here. Plus, they don't have any ghost resistances other than Incineroar. Low-key thinking about Dynamaxing Genesect in this one. If I could get a special attack download boost, I think it's actually very intriguing. Calyrex. I kind of want to do like Calyrex plus Kyogre lead, and then Genesect plus Mew in the back. I just want to try out Genesect and Mew as much as I can. It's part of it. I don't think that's the best way you should pick your Pokemon here, but I think that Mew in itself is just so interesting to me. I'd say fundamentally one of the trickier things is that Mew plus Yveltal is... like, there are a lot of things that unfortunately stop it. Like, Steel types in general are just kind of rough. Zacian, Magearna. We're going to go with Regieleki and Kyogre. Okay. So there's Electro Web pressure immediately on turn 1, right? You could go for something like Electro Web plus a Water Spout. You could Dynamax Regieleki, but this is Assault Vest Kyogre, so I'd actually be okay with that. I mean, I think the play I want to go for is Protect here. Yeah, it's crazy, but I'm actually thinking about Dynamaxing Genesect if we KO the Regieleki. But they could just Dynamax Aleki immediately here. So I think to respect Dynamax Aleki, I want to Protect and Geyser it. Okay, they're not maxing. That's fine. Sash Aleki, though, is where things get problematic. And I think there's a decent chance there's Sash on it, although could also be on Amoonguss on this team. If it's not Sash, though, and we get a one-hit KO with Geyser, I actually think we're in super good shape. Because it gets rid of the one way for them to slow down my Calyrex, meaning I have Focus Sash intact. I can pressure with Astral Barrage. So Regieleki is not protecting here. I think Electro Web plus Water Spout here makes the most sense from their end, and so I was thinking one way to counteract that was to Hailstorm Regieleki on turn 1. But I don't want to be Hailstorming into a Dynamax Aleki, because if they Dynamax Max Lightning me, that's really ugly. Whereas I can take Electro Web Water Spout, no problem, thanks to Assault Vest. Life Orb Kyogre, okay, that's cool to see. If there's Sash, I have to make a pretty important decision on turn 2, which is what I do with Calyrex. It is Sash, yeah. I think we have to switch it out here, sadly. The question is, would I rather have Mew or Genesect here? I think the answer is Genesect because of their potential Calyrex Ice Rider. So I'll switch into Mew here. I'm going to just Hailstorm Kyogre, get some chip damage, and then also finishes off Regieleki thanks to Hail. Yeah, Protect Hailstorm would have been sweet turn 1, but I was like thinking I don't want to necessarily break my Sash. They actually missed the Kyogre there. Hits Mew. Yep. The interesting thing is with Life Orb Kyogre, like each hit you do reduces your damage output, but yeah, it still KOs the Mew sadly. I wonder if Mew could have survived if the miss actually went onto that slot. Life Orb Water Spout is just so powerful, though. So, this start feels kind of bad because I spent 2 turns of Dynamax, and I don't think I really got that much out of it. But in the end, at least, we knock out the Regieleki. I get some chip damage onto the Kyogre. I can bring out my Calyrex now. Or Genesect. Because, like, Calyrex can be really strong in this game if I get my opponent's Pokemon... like, if I get their HP stats low enough is the thing. Yeah, I'm kind of down to bring Genesect out here, I think. Rather than Calyrex first. And they bring out Amoonguss. Okay. That's actually totally okay with me, I think. Because I can max Lightning to set up Electric Terrain, preventing you from Sporing. And if Calyrex is their last one... like, basically in this position, I can go for a Bug Buzz onto the Kyogre slot. And then max Lightning into the Amoonguss slot. So, sadly we had to sacrifice me. Okay, they're going to Dynamax Kyogre. I think that's the right play. Yeah, I really like that play from their end. The reason why I like that play a lot is because basically for my opponent's position right now, you're threatened by Genesect, right? It could have been better to actually protect Genesect this turn to scout out for what they wanted to do. And like maybe Hailstorm Amoonguss. They might even protect Amoonguss here. Yeah. But what's interesting is if, let's say you Geyser into my, that Bug Buzz really didn't do that much, but it does get a special defense drop. Basically, the curiosity now is, can an Astral Barrage KO you? I don't think so. So you eat up Life Orb Geyser damage here. Yeah, I felt compelled to Lightning there because I wanted to set up Electric Terrain to prevent Amoonguss from really doing too much. Actually, I have Focus Sash intact, right? So having Sash on the Calyrex here is a pretty big deal, no? Dynamax ends on my end. Because, like, Calyrex can absolutely snowball this game at this point, I think. That special defense drop, I don't think it's enough for me to KO. And honestly, I'd rather have it that way because I don't want it to matter. Would rather win just off no RNG. Good find on my opponent to Dynamax Kyogre there. I could have, like, read into Amoonguss protecting there, but I think I have to really cover for it getting a Spore off. It's too risky otherwise. But yeah, I can Astral Barrage in this position. I'm down to just Astral Barrage Ice Beam here, I think. Alright, they don't protect or switch either Pokemon. Kyogre hangs on with 1 HP. Oh, this is such an interesting finish. They're going to Hailstorm Calyrex. How much does that do to us? Okay, not enough. Ice Beam should KO Amoonguss. Kyogre faints from Life Orb. It's 2v1, Calyrex plus Kyogre. The difference is, that with that special defense drop, if I didn't get it, Kyogre would have still maybe hung on. They would hang on for sure, actually, I would think. Enough where then another Astral Barrage can finish it off. Then the question is, if their last Pokemon was Calyrex, then, you know, I was thinking, okay, well, we can just Astral Barrage plus Origin Pulse. That's kind of why I wanted to maybe, like, conserve Calyrex for the late game here. Let's see. It was Magearna. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we would have had some mind games, essentially, if Kyogre hung on there with one more turn. It definitely would have been a lot closer, but now I can just Astral plus. It's actually interesting, like, debating whether or not I want to click Water Spout for a 100% accurate move here. Versus Origin Pulse. Don't know if Spout does enough to KO, so I'd rather go for Origin Pulse here. Because I think we can afford to miss anyway. But maybe I'm underestimating how much Astral Barrage does in this position. Yeah, that didn't really do that much. Okay, I do miss. They get Trick Room up. Okay. I think it's still okay. Because I have the Assault Vest on Kyogre. It's like, oh, it's Leftovers Magearna. That's interesting. I could have also won the game there if I clicked Imprison, but I really don't want to be clicking Imprison and have them attack me and I just lose off that. So I'm going to Protect and just Origin. Yeah, I mean, if I Water Spouted there, like I said, I didn't think it would do enough to KO anyway from that range, so I'd rather have a little bit more damage. I don't even know if single target Origin Pulse gets the KO based off Astral there, but we'll see. Yeah, they just Gleam. I'm not even sure Gleam is a 2-hit KO onto Kyogre thanks to Assault Vest and them being Leftovers. 94 down to 67. So yeah, that did... What did I say? 94, 67, 27 damage? Yeah, Origin does get the KO. Cool. I mean, 2 Water Spouts would have done it there in the end, I think, but... That's probably the more consistent line to take. In my head, though, I was like, if Origin Pulse just connects there, we like win the game immediately. So that's kind of why I went for it. But yeah, Genesect was cool here. I mean, we only really got it to bring it out for 1 attack, but I think it was actually fairly valuable into my opponent's team. And if they did not find the Dynamax Kyogre play there, like Genesect could have been even stronger in the late game. We did get a very fortunate special defense drop off of it, which I think gave us a pretty significant advantage. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for watching. It was really fun to try out a team with both Mew and Genesect, and I think, we found some interesting plays with them. Ultimately, I would say that they're not, the superstar carries of this team, and I think that this team finds really cool ways to make both of those Pokemon work, but in the end of the day, they're just not very strong Pokemon relative to a lot of the heavy hitters in this format, right? I think, inherently one of the problems with Mew is that it just doesn't do very much damage, but it's also really weakened to a lot of things, like Yveltal and Calyrex Shadow Rider, for example. Genesect's not exactly the most ideal max option, especially because of its typing and its speed. But we were able to at least bring them into games and put them in positions where they could succeed. And to me, I'm happy with that because those are the roles of those Pokemon, right? So yeah, thanks so much as always for watching, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.